No one really means it. That was the train of thought that occurred to me the instant I saw the season 20 trailer of Sister Wives. Tears, smiles, apologies, but who is sorry and who's pretending for the cameras? Within a matter of minutes, we're going frame by frame, moment by moment, revealing every secret look, every concealed feeling, and every apology that could very well be a fabrication. From the first frame, the season 20 trailer smashes you over the head with contradictions. There's Kody in the center of the room, his hands shaking a little, eyes flicking between his wives, and you can sense the pressure of unspoken words weighing down. Then there's Mary, her smile clenched, forced nearly, but her eyes flicker with a hint of true pain. It's that fine line, the slip between pretension and true feeling, that makes you stop. And if that's not enough to make your jaw drop, look at Christine sitting off camera, holding her tears back quietly, as if she's saving them for a personal tempest, which no one else is privy to. The camera pauses briefly too long on every single reaction, making you the viewer deal with the tension present in the room, like an unwelcome guest. Robin's laughter rings out from another corner, bright, too bright, as if she's trying to reassure herself she's a part of this moment. It's a jumble of feelings, apology, regret, defensiveness, and yet below it all, a weak thread of connection that will not snap entirely through. The trailer sets up the viewer with the contradictions, who is telling the truth, and who's acting for the camera. At 0:47, there's a freeze frame that has already gone viral in fan circles. One wife is crying, her shoulders shaking subtly, while another is grinning, nodding, as if to say, "I've got this under control." That single frame tells an entire story without a word being spoken. It's betrayal and strategy, wrapped into one fleeting instant. You notice soon that the apologies are not equal. Some are weighty with authentic regret, some light, practiced, half-transactional. And in the silence, you sense the strain building, pulling you in, drawing you into their sphere. Even the slightest movement seems weighted with significance. A head cocked, the slightest breath drawn before a line is delivered, a hand against the side of a table as if seeking balance, it all communicates. And you begin to see patterns: who moves forward first, who lingers, who avoids eye contact when eyes lock. Every move seems deliberate, calculated, yet impossibly incomprehensible in one watch. At the end of this initial portion of the trailer, there is one question remaining: who among them actually wants forgiveness? And who is merely acting for the cameras, spinning a fragile web of apology that might not hold any real value at all? The answers aren't simple, and the deeper you look, the more you realize that every gesture, every glance, every half-smile might conceal a story far more complicated than it appears. As the trailer unfolds, the tension deepens, and the energy shifts in ways you don't fully expect. There's a moment where Kody steps forward, voice low but trembling just enough to betray the calm he's trying to project. You can feel the burden of history in his stance, the hundreds of apologies offered, accepted, dismissed, or dodged, and you can't help but think, which of them are real, and which are acts he's honed to perfection over decades. In the background, Mary's gaze flicks quickly to the ground, a moment of frailty that disappears almost as soon as it materializes. It's in the very instant that you glimpse the tangled, unvoiced dynamics at work. Christine is the next to appear, standing somewhat bent against a doorway, her look a blend of guardedness and curiosity. There's something deliberate in her shifting weight, as if she's bracing herself for a fight she knows is unavoidable. And yet, even within that plan, there's a glimmer of wariness, emotional wariness brought on by repeated rounds of fight and reconciliatory efforts. The trailer doesn't give you time to dawdle in complacency. It propels you immediately into the chaos of a family put under the microscope, where every smile, every cry, every apology is open to interpretation. Robin's presence here is almost paradoxical. She glides with a lightness, her movements fluid, almost playful, but the quiet intensity in her eyes betrays her. There's a line she says, subtle, almost whispered, but there's an edge of confrontation to it that's not at first obvious. It's in these unobtrusive places that the tension mounts. The tension between outward emotion and inward agendas. The trailer doesn't telegraph anything, it just lets the heavy belly of observation do its work. The backstory is as telling as the words. A slightly tilted chair, a lingered hand on the counter, a held look for a second too long, all suggest backroom rivalries simmering beneath the surface, unspoken feelings, and hidden battles won behind doors. Even the briefest frame, a look shared across space, is weighted with connotation. Who is authentic? Who is acting? The camera never gives you a chance to be sure. And then there's the freeze frame moment, a shared stopping point in which all four wives are present, each with a different emotion in her posture. Apologies hover in mid-air like shattered glass, and you find yourself wanting to reach in and observe which of them will shatter and which will not. It's impossible not to wonder who of them is actually ready to go on, and who is holding on to the apology as shield, guarding against the hurt they're not yet ready to confront. In that frozen moment, the answers seem just beyond reach, teasing, tantalizing, and impossible to shake. The trailer cuts hard, shifting the momentum in a way that's almost dizzying. It's heavy with tension and suppressed emotion 1 minute, then laughter cracks out, sharp and brittle, off the walls of a room that seems too cramped to contain the heft of everything that's going on within. Kody smiles, but it's a smile that doesn't reach quite as far as his eyes. A suggestion that even amidst seeming levity, the currents of discord are unbroken. And if you think that's merely a momentary detail, wait until you catch the slight change in the wives' posture, as if a discreet cue has been exchanged between them. Acknowledgement of something pending, something unsaid hanging in the air. Mary reappears, sitting with folded hands clasped tightly in her lap, a gentle breath escaping almost involuntarily. She cants her head ever so slightly, observing, hearing, weighing, but an unmistakable strand of pain pulls at her face as well. The trailer tempts us with these mini moments, small fissures that portend long years of pent-up frustrations and regrets. These are the louder-than-words moments, the whispered confessions that cannot be summed up in words. Christine's presence heightens tension. She leans forward, hands brushing a countertop, eyes riveted on something, or someone just off camera. There is a calculated poise in her stance, a manner of holding her body that indicates she is moving through emotional ground with utmost reserve. But even as she radiates serenity, there is an edge, a faint ripple of irritation, that assures you she's willing to fight if it arises. The trailer does not allow her gestures to go unnoticed. Each tilt of the head, each blink seems loaded with significance, intentional, necessary to grasping the dynamics unfolding before the lens. Robin is suspended in the midst of it all, shifting back and forth between energy and observation, weighting her role with a measured blend of humor and watchfulness. Her own laughter cuts through tension, but her gaze roams the room persistently, catching things the eye may not. The twitch of a lip, the clench of a jaw, the faint exhale that follows a throwaway line. They add up to a story that's all but impossible to overlook. One in which each apology, each glance, each half-smile becomes a declaration of purpose, a barometer of genuineness, or a veil for more profound realities. And then the trailer stops, literally freezes for a moment. 4 faces, 4 pairs of eyes, each of which will tell you a different part of the same convoluted tale. The apologies dangle like delicate glass, sparkling but treacherous, and you can sense the tension wringing tighter with each second that ticks by. Who is really sorry? Who is acting? And who will snap first under the strain of the feelings they're all trying to keep in check? In that suspended moment, the answers are slippery, tantalizing, impossible to avoid, and you can't help but incline closer, anxious to know what is going to occur next. The trailer doesn't leave you time to catch your breath. Before you have time to process the tension between the wives, the camera jumps to Kody once more, standing slightly off to the side, shoulders squared but with an exposure you can't overlook. His face is inscrutable, a well-made-up mask, but there is a flicker, a brief, almost unnoticeable pause, that gives away the doubt simmering beneath. And in that pause, you begin to realize the real stakes. The smiles, the tears, the apologies, they are not merely about one moment. They're about years of conflict unresolved, resentments unspoken, and the finicky balancing act of holding a family together through emotions that are so much deeper than the camera can show. Mary returns, a small shiver running through her stance, as if each word, each look, is being considered and measured. Her gaze crosses with the camera for a moment, but isn't actually looking at it. She's scanning, searching for something she can't define yet. The trailer makes you pay attention to these things. These small things that seem like whispers in the dark. And if you're thinking that's the whole of it, just wait until you get to Christine's next act. She changes position, sitting back a little, but her hands are just nervous enough to suggest the tension waiting beneath the calm surface. Each mini movement is precise, an unspoken narrative communicated in ways the dialogue cannot. Robin intervenes once more, laughing softly but purposefully, as if creating a thoughtful pause between scenes of intense drama. Even as she strides confidently though, there's a look back over her shoulder, a faint clenching of her jaw, that reminds you no one in this room is ever truly at ease. Every apology given tastes like a negotiation, a studied act placed on top of real feeling, and the trailer leaves you feeling the burden of it all. The cross signals, the secret motives, the tenuous alliances held in place by unspoken codes. And then there's a moment of brief, near cinematic silence. The camera hovers over a chair, knocked just a little bit off center, sunlight slicing across the floor in clean lines, catching dust suspended in the air. It's a small thing, nearly insignificant in itself, but in the context of the trailer, it becomes symbolic, a visual metaphor for unbalance, disturbance, and the unseen tension weaving its way through the space. Every look the wives share one another in this frozen moment, each micro-expression, saying more than an entire sentence ever could. And just when you're able to breathe again, the trailer takes one more twist. 4 faces, 4 opposing emotions, each apology laced with intention and doubt. Who's genuine, who's acting, and who will be compelled to look the truth in the face of their own feelings before anybody else does? In that brief instant, the questions are heavy on the air, unsolved, unthinkable, and you know that this apology war is just getting started, not finishing, it's only just begun. The trailer cuts again, nearly not even, but at once the air is charged with expectation. Every look and movement weighed with greater significance than ever before. Kody navigates the room, but it's not a physical navigation, it's an emotional navigation, a delicate threading one's way past a minefield. He's been treading for years. There's a pause, lips shut, eyes darting to each wife in turn. That pause, it isn't hesitation, it's calculation, a quiet recognition of the history, the apologies given, the grudges silently fomented. And if you believe that's all there is to read, observe the near silent exhale, as Mary turns her back, shoulders drooping for a heartbeat, an intimate confession in transit. Christine fills the next frame, but not with volume or activity. Subtlety, it's about the tilt of her head, the squint of her eyes, the micro-tension between her hands. She waits, and observes, a storm bottled up, that shows the depth of feelings that exist below the level of each "I'm sorry" uttered. The trailer taunts you with these things, and it teaches you that words are never enough, that the truth is written in pauses, in gestures, in unspoken wars fought silently in a room full of people who know one another too well. Robin walks into the shot next, with a relaxed air of confidence that hides the tension lurking beneath. Her smile is effortless, but the telltale flicker of her eyes reveals something else entirely. She's watching, measuring, reading between the lines of the other wives' actions. Each apology, each nod, each laugh, is a piece of information in a greater game, a network of relationships stretched and pulled by years of public attention. And in that measured tension between lightness and watchfulness, you begin to catch glimpses of the war working beneath. Apologies made, apologies withheld, and the complicated dance of sincerity versus performance. Then there's a little pause, nearly cinematic, as if the trailer itself is catching its breath. The camera hangs on a moment of silence, the light catching dust particles in the air, the faint shuffle of a foot, the subtle clenching of a jaw. These are deceptively ordinary moments, but within the framework of the trailer, they seem laden with meaning. Every detail, however small, contributes to the tension, creating a story that is both wild and exact, emotional and planned. And just when you start piecing it together, the trailer makes you face the question hanging in there, since the very first frame: who is really sorry? Who is acting for the camera? And who will be the first to crack under the burden of unspoken feelings? In this suspended, near delicate instant, the answers elude us, tantalizing, and impossible to disavow, an enticement to lean in closer, to see again, and to doubt all that you believed you knew of the apology war. The trailer cuts again, this time with an almost imperceptible tension, but you sense it, the air all but vibrating, with things left unspoken. Kody steps toward a window, shoulders slightly rounded, as if burdened by the weight of all apologies ever made and received. The light glances off his face, illuminating the clenched line of his jaw, the fleeting furrow of his brow, the almost unnoticeable pause in his stride. You feel the weight that he carries in this moment, not to keep the family afloat, but to ride the stormy tides of four women, each who carry pieces of the past, shreds of regret, and hopes he'll never be able to meet. And if you think that's intense, you ought to see what comes next. Mary sits a little off to the side, fingers laced together, eyes cast downward, as if she's deciphering secret messages in the grain of the wood beneath her palms. Her smile is tentative, really forced, a strained attempt to cover up the vulnerability that threatens to spill over. Each time she breathes, her breath is laden with a balance of grief and calculation, a careful balancing act between weakness and presence. The trailer invites you into these micro moments, where you see the layers of emotion behind even the slightest gesture, the silences that have as much weight as the words themselves. Christine re-enters frame, eyes narrowed but just a little, lips compressed in that characteristic line of unspoken tension. There is a rhythm to her motion, a hidden choreography of looking and holding back, as if she's taking measure of each encounter, each look, each movement for what it holds. You begin to see that this is more than a family situation. It's a war of feelings, one where apologies are used both as shield and sword, and every smile suggests possibility, every cry threatens calculation. Robin's presence within the scene is just as multifaceted. She glides effortlessly, but her gaze sweeps, marking, calculating. All laughter, all nodding, all tilts of her head becomes part of the equation. It's hypnotic to watch, and nearly hypnotic, how every little detail builds to a story of tension and expectation. You see the little ways the wives interact, the brief pauses that linger just a beat too long, the looks exchanged, and hastily dropped. The trailer makes you realize the truth, that on screen, nothing ever is simple. It's complex, layered, charged with emotion. Then there is the moment that hangs in suspense. The shared moment when all four wives are present, each representing a distinct emotional reality. The apologies balance precariously in the air, a lighter, fragile thing and a heavier thing at once. And the audience can't help but wonder, who is genuine, who is acting, and who will ultimately face the knotty web of feelings and past that unites them, but threatens to tear them asunder. And in that suspended instant, the answers are unfindable, teasing, tantalizing, and completely absorbing, having you leaning in closer, willing to see what happens next. The trailer shifts again, and all of a sudden tension becomes nigh unbearable. Kody is trapped in a shot, shoulders squared, but eyes flashing with nervousness, a momentary shudder sweeping through his jawline. There's a near invisible hesitation before he speaks, or maybe before he responds. And in that hesitation, the weight of each and every apology, each and every grievance, each and every unspoken grudge hangs in the air. It's the sort of moment that makes you edge in closer, practically afraid to blink, because the next micro-expression might do just about anything. And if you think all the drama has been there, wait until the next series of events happens. Mary takes over the next scene, sitting slightly withdrawn, her loosely clasped hands resting in front of her. Her face is composed, serene on the outside, but her eyes are another story altogether. A story of wounds inflicted in the past, of patience born, of the creeping weariness that only develops after many years of experiencing love and heartbreak. The trailer allows you to stay just long enough to catch the tremble in her fingers, the soft breath that gives away her politely maintained reserve. Each of these little human touches creates layers of tension and sympathy, drawing you into the emotional world of this family without ever having to resort to a single word of conversation. Christine is next, standing in a doorway, arms folded in that habitual defensive position, lips compressed together. She casts a look around the room that seems calculated, almost seeking out, as if she's taking inventory of the emotional tension of each person in attendance. And yet, in the slight adjustment of her stance, in the brief easing of her shoulders, there's a shadow of vulnerability which suggests a secret struggle concealed just beneath the surface. The trailer doesn't provide answers. It tantalizes them, leaving you wondering who is really sorry and who is acting for the camera. Robin's movements provide a stark contrast. She steps lightly across the room, laughter soft but deliberate, yet her eyes are always scanning, measuring, assessing. Every glance she gives, every tilt of her head, every subtle pause in her speech feels purposeful. The trailer captures these fleeting moments and elevates them, turning minor gestures into pivotal pieces of an intricate emotional puzzle. And finally, the freeze frame suspending time. 4 women, 4 faces, 4 opposing emotions. Apologies dangle tenuously in the air, volatile and lethal, and the repressed tension tightens a turn each second. Who is genuine, who is acting, and who will crumble first under the load of decades of unexpressed animosity? The trailer holds you in that question, cannot avert your eyes, your interest locked, wanting to know what's going to happen next. The trailer makes another swerve, and the atmosphere in the room becomes shaken yet again. Kody is standing off in the background, fists slightly gripped at his sides, mouth squeezed tight, eyes darting from one wife to the next in quick, barely perceptible shifts. The burden of all the past apologies rests on his shoulders. And still, there's a tension that reads differently this time. More desperate, more precarious, as if the scales he'd maintained for so long could tip at any second. And if you think it can't get deeper, wait for the next piece of information that's about to come out. Mary's face tightens as the camera zooms in. Her smile is replaced by a silent, tense introspection. There's a near whisper tremor in her voice that betrays repressed emotions. The trailer allows you to linger on these micro moments, revealing that her apologies are layered, nuanced, and not at all simplistic. She is not only responding to the moment, she's burdened with past disappointments, the slight hurt of unspoken words, and the weighty sorrow of feeling misinterpreted in a family where what's seen is as important as what's known. Christine steps next into view, her stance a tense balance between standoffishness and restraint. Each movement appears to be deliberate. The angle of her head, the folding of her arms, the instant flash of a look behind her. And yet, beneath the well-practiced facade, there's vulnerability, a flash of unfiltered feeling that indicates her apologies might hold a more personal, deeper meaning. The trailer does not tell. It hints so that the audience can feel the unsaid levels of conflict, hurt, and loyalty that exist among the wives. Robin moves forward once again, her steps fluid, playful, but eyes sharp, focused, always deconstructing. Her laugh cuts the tension, but the slight hesitation in her steps betrays the high stakes in her seemingly exterior calm. The camera registers these subtleties, making what appears to be small, mundane movements a window into the family's complex emotional lives. Each look shared, each smile given, each tiny gesture is loaded with significance, suggesting hidden deals, tactical apologies, and the delicate balance of power and feeling that keeps the family alive. Then, as if to highlight the tenuous power of the trailer, the camera lingers on a single, nearly invisible detail. A fleeting look, a momentary flicker of doubt or resistance. 4 wives, 4 readings, each apology suspended like glass, fragile yet perilous. Who is sincerely apologetic? Who is acting? And who will ultimately face the web of feelings that have been accumulating for decades, ready to disintegrate under the pressure of buried truths? In that frozen moment, the tension is almost intolerable, and you know that there is no easy solution, just the complicated, unsatisfactory reality of the apology war that continues to unfold. The trailer cuts once more, and tension builds almost without you noticing. But you can feel it spread through the room. Kody is in long shot, a little back, shoulders rigid, lips clamped shut. There is a weakness there, hidden behind years of experience, practiced smiles, and strategically timed apologies. And if you think that's a subtle little thing, wait until you catch the whispery glances between the wives. Each one a tale in itself, each one packed with 1,000 unspoken words. Mary's eyes catch the light in a way that makes the small tremor in her hand visible, the faint quiver that betrays the calm exterior she presents to the world. Her apology feels measured, deliberate, yet tinged with genuine sorrow, a reminder that behind every calculated expression is a human being navigating pain, regret, and longing for understanding. The trailer dwells on these moments, instructing the viewer that the tale is not in what is heard but in what is barely perceptible revealed. The clenched squeeze of a hand, the faint sag of a mouth, the hesitation before a breath is let out. Next, Christine steps into frame, her stance tense but quietly expressive, a delicate dance of power and exposure. Her mouth compresses into a thin line as she surveys the room, eyes darting from wife to wife, taking in reactions, weighing intent. There is a storm center in her movements, a complexity layered on top of complexity that leaves the viewer guessing. Each apology offered, each look given, each gesture made, seems part of a bigger unseen plan, an emotional game of chess, wherein sincerity and show converge, become almost indistinguishable. Robin's laugh breaks the tension, light but deliberate, her motion smooth but heavy with purpose. Despite playing a game of casual interaction, her gaze never falters, taking in nuances that would go unnoticed by the untrained eye. The trailer magnifies these little things, turning them into dramatic points that make themselves heard. Every smile, every nod, every moment of levity is pregnant with potential subtext, a veneer over buried feeling, a tactic to keep the precarious dance of conflict and communion in balance. And then the trailer is still. 4 wives, 4 opposing emotions, one room thick with tension frozen in a single frame. The apology is suspended in mid-air, delicate but heavy, as the undercurrent of years of resentment tightens second by second. The camera holds, making us confront the question that has been in the works since the first frame: who is really sorry? Who is acting, and who will ultimately come apart under the strain of unspoken truth and deep-seated resentment? In that frozen, nearly intolerable moment, the answers are just out of reach, taunting, drawing, and irresistible, sucking you further into the developing apology war. The trailer makes another jarring shift, and the tension is palpable. Kody waits in the background, shoulders ever so slightly curved, eyes shifting between wife and wife, as if weighing not merely their words, but every nuance of movement, every hesitation, every silent design. It's a lesson in restraint, how much can be shown, how much can be hidden, and how much the camera gets to see. And if you believe that's subtle, just wait until the next shot reveals the layers below. Mary takes over the following frame, sitting a little forward, hands loosely folded, a soft shiver betraying the placid exterior she's showing. Her gaze is downward, but a bare flicker catches your eye, an emotional ripple that speaks louder than her words. Every apology she utters is a measured performance, but beneath, there is undeniable sadness, a quiet introspection on failure, regret, and the complicated dynamics which have defined her standing in this family for years. The trailer doesn't require words to get across the heaviness. It's in her stance, her quiet breath, the tightly set jaw. Christine enters sight next, arms folded loosely, eyes scanning a space with a mixture of wariness and calculation. Each move, each look is weighted, showing a mind in constant assessment, analysis, anticipation. The trailer conveys this rhythm of engagement, presenting the audience with a vision that proves apologies are more than words. They are tools of negotiation, signals of trust, and occasionally armor against vulnerability. The camera pauses just long enough to allow you to sense the tension building beneath the surface, the fragile nature of relationships, pushed and re-pushed with each shot. Robin's movements are light and flowing, almost careless, but her eyes tell a story of perpetual watchfulness. Each smile, each laughter, each incline of the head is freighted with possible meaning, a delicate negotiation of the complex web of feelings around her. In the trailer, these micro details accumulate, transmogrifying small actions into narrative epiphanies. The viewer comes to realize that in this apology war, gestures are as effective as words, and performance and truth are almost interchangeable. Then there is the freeze frame, which gathers all four wives into one shot, their faces a scale of emotion, some authentic, some studiously manufactured, all complicated. The air hangs suspended in the room, each apology tenuous, hanging like glass. And in that instant, the trailer has you doubting everything you've witnessed up to this point. Who's authentic, who's acting, and who will ultimately face down the knotted mess of feelings that connects them. It's a halt that draws you in, a frozen moment charged with anticipation, leaving you aching to disentangle the layers of the apology war still unraveling before your eyes. The trailer turns again, and the room constricts, the pressure of unspoken words bearing down upon each shot. Kody stands in a long shot, shoulders set but slightly hunched, eyes darting from wife to wife with calculation, as if each look bears the total load of years of balancing love, fidelity, and expectation. There is a quiet quiver in his face, a pause that tells us a lot about the emotional minefield he treads every day. And if you believe the tension has nowhere else to go, wait until the next instant reveals the cracks hidden beneath the surface. Mary comes in, sitting with hands folded gently on knees, but each motion is considered. Her gaze cuts to the floor, and then raises just enough to show a glimmer of held-back feeling, a stillness of vulnerability that she will not bring forth fully. Her apology is multi-layered, some genuine, some defensive, some calculated, and the trailer makes you sense the intricacy without a single word of dialogue. Every micro-movement, every soft exhale, every faint tremble in her hands, is a painting of a woman moving through a world in which sincerity and performance are in perpetual conflict. Christine advances, her stance stiff but not without complexity, arms crossed loosely, lips pursed into a thin smile, eyes sweeping the room with a combination of calculation and curiosity. Each glance, each shift is intentional, a silent dance of power, emotion, and influence. The trailer capitalizes on these subtle moments, demonstrating that in every apology there is a delicate interplay of strategy and emotion, a dance which in a split second can switch directions. You begin to see the way each wife responds not only to words, but to gestures, tone, and even silence. Robin's movements are smooth but controlled, her laughter quiet and calculated, her eyes bright and watchful. She moves through the room with economy, taking in what others may overlook, the tension of a jaw, the temporary flash of uncertainty in a look, the pause before breath is let out. Each movement a cue, each smile a possible deception, each gesture a whispered assertion in the tacit pecking order of the family. The trailer takes those micro details and amplifies them, making them narrative tension that draws the viewer further into the story. And then there is the freeze frame, a brief interruption that freezes time. 4 wives, 4 faces, 4 emotional realities held suspended in one frame. Apologies dangle like thin glass, delicate and heavy at the same time. The question that has been growing since the opening frame cannot be ignored. Who is really sorry? Who's acting? And who will eventually face the knotty mess of feelings that characterizes the apology war? In that suspended moment, the answers are teasingly out of reach, drawing you closer, making you lean in, straining to see what happens next. The trailer makes another small shift, barely noticeable at first, but it's enough to make the tension in the room nearly palpable. Kody is standing back slightly, loosely with his hands by his sides, his eyes shifting between the wives as if weighing each feeling, each movement, each unspoken consideration. There is tension in his stance, a subdued recognition of the decades of apologies, fights, and unspoken resentments that have been forged in this household. And if you believe the weight can't possibly become any more burdensome, look at the slight tick of his eyes, a brief pause that suggests the vulnerability behind his collected facade. Mary reappears, positioned slightly forward, hands clasped together, a suppressed shiver undermining the calm she exudes. Her eyes roam across the room, landing on the eyes of each wife in turn. And in that brief moment, you can feel the complicated web of feelings she bears. Her apologies are multiple layered, some genuine, some tactical, all weighted with the burden of experience and history. The trailer makes you sense the depth, without one line of dialogue, calling out to the micro moments. The angle of a head, the hesitation before a breath, the clenched line of her jaw, that say so much about her state of mind. Christine comes next, with posture a measured balance between wariness and authority, arms crossed lightly, lips pursed in a thin line, eyes darting for the merest hint of a signal. She exudes a still intensity that demands notice. Every gesture is calculated, a heightened balancing act between power, emotion and allegiance. The trailer highlights these nuances, unveiling the tension not only in the uttered apologies, but in the movements, looks and silences that encapsulate them. The audience starts to realize that what is never said can be heavier than words themselves. Robin glides across the screen as she always does, but her eyes are watchful, breaking down every minute detail. Her gentle laughter and fluid movements serve as bridge and barrier, binding moments of humor while at the same time protecting her own emotional posture. The trailer spotlights these little things, raising them to moments of narrative tension. Every look, every hesitation, every millisecond of emotion is a part of the puzzle, suggesting alliances, plans and weaknesses that might otherwise remain hidden. And then the freeze frame that captures the moment in its entirety. 4 wives, 4 feelings, 4 unfinished truths, frozen in one frame. Apologies dangle on the breeze, like fine glass, fragile and weighty all at the same time. The query persists, building throughout the trailer. Who is authentic? Who is acting? And who will finally face the complex, knotted web of feeling that has characterized the apology war for so long? In that frozen moment, the answers are just beyond your grasp, teasing you, compelling you to lean in closer, wanting so badly to discover what happens next.